Howdy folks, TJ here. I'm about to get my Amiga on. And what the heck's that mean, Amiga on? Well, it means Amiwest in Northern California, Sacramento, is this weekend. Actually, technically, I think the event starts Thursday where they have the DevCon stuff. Developer folks from all over pop in, learn about developing. But then for the commoner like me, the event kind of starts on Friday night to where people start kind of moving into the room where they're putting on the event, saying hello to each other again. They used to do repairs. I don't know if that's going to happen moving forward, but they used to on Friday night kind of, hey, if you had an old Amiga, bring it in. We can kind of check it out kind of thing. But technically the event is Saturday and Sunday. And it's all about mostly Commodore. I should say it's not just Amiga. It's Commodore, but it's mostly Amiga. And I'm not an Amigan. That may be strange to say because I'm making an Amiga video, but if you watch my channel long enough, you know that I was an Atarian. I still am an Atarian. I moved on from being an Atarian long ago in terms of professional. I use other platforms, but I still enjoy computers of old. And I even, for a little while, enjoyed some old Amigas. I, over time, found that they weren't for me because I was born and raised on Atari. So in terms of old computers, I prefer using Atari. That's not to say the Amiga wasn't a kick-ass platform. I was never the one to say Atari's it, or Amiga's it, or Apple's it, being that type that's only mine is better than yours kind of thing. I was never that way, but I enjoyed Atari, so I had my little Atari flag and loved it. But then over time, as you get older and many years pass by, I started learning and reading about Amiga, and I could see what some of the hype was, and I've made other Amiga videos on why the Amiga OS and some of the video capability of it was quite powerful. Got something in my eye. And so, yeah, I saw the light, per se. Around 2009, when the introduction of the Amiga X5000 computer from Aeon started making the rotation. And I started reading about it. And then before I knew it, 2010, I attended my first Amiwest show. And I've attended quite a few since then. I have not hit it every year. For a while I was, but then things kind of tapered off between me getting sour a little bit on Amiga or just having a life and doing other things. But I've enjoyed continuing to go to the event. Mostly for, you see the picture behind me, it's probably a little small, but here's a picture of a pad. I think this is 2018, pre-COVID, where you see a picture of some of my friends at Amiga. All of us have glasses, drinking glasses, because Amiga and Amiwest is more than just computing. It's actually, for me, more of a time to see friends that I have met, that I enjoy to go visit and have a few drinks with. So I like to have this little backdrop. And then, of course, I got my little Amiga hat. This thing's probably pretty dusty because, to be truthful, and that's what this video is kind of about, I don't use my Amiga 1 X5000 that much. And we'll get into why. But I still have it. And I've made some other videos about my thoughts on Amiga. But this is the reason I stay and I go and I enjoy Amiwest. And it's this weekend. And if you've been to one of them, they're all very similar. They have the same type of atmosphere, same crew of people mostly. Some new people come into the mix every so often. But this is not an Amiga 38 event like you see overseas. I've seen some pictures, and that's a pretty impressive, lots of people attending. This, I'm going to say there's probably a core 50 people that attend this event every year. And then there's probably some walk-in folks. Last year was actually, and maybe it's because it was the first event, people got back together again, actually face-to-face with Amiwest, and so it was pretty packed. But I would say under general terms, and I could be off on the number, but I think, about 50 people. These guys, all of them other than Daniel in the middle, I think, I don't know if he'll ever attend again, but I had a great time meeting him. He sure does stand out in that green fluorescent jacket. But anyway, I stay for the people. And Amiwest is this weekend. I was almost considering not attending. I've had some things. 2023 has been a shitty year for me and my family. It hasn't been very pleasant, we'll say. So I was considering just bypassing it. But I've decided to go because I want to see some of these guys and I want to drink with them and just have a good time. So let's talk about Amiwest a little bit. This is kind of a pre-Amiwest video, if you will, and my little bit of chant about Amiga and why maybe I wasn't going to attend. So Amiwest, again, is, I think, been the longest in continuity, I can't say that word, that they've never missed an Amiwest for the last 25, 26, 27 years, whatever it is. And even though it's no longer the size that it was back in the heyday, you still have a core group of 50 people or whatever. Some of the SAC, the club, the Sacramento Amiga Club, basically puts this on, along with some other folks that are part of the club or helpers of the club. And they've been putting on this event forever. And now it's mostly, I want to say, yeah, it's a small event. It's not a Macworld. It's not an Amiga 38 event. But it is a fun event, and you make it what you want to make it. If you are not the type to mingle, chat, communicate, go to have fun, it may be boring because you've got, 15 tables of people with their wares hanging out for your enjoyment, and they show off of it. But it's not one like with a Macworld you go and it takes you days to walk around and hit up every booth. You're going to hit up every booth within, that first day easily. But then during the day, there are many discussions, seminars in a separate little part of the same room where you go off and somebody speaks about a subject. And not every subject may not be your cup of tea, but some will. So you can go there and not only check the booths out, talk to people, just say hi. I want to see you again. It's been a year, friends, or get interest in whatever they're pimping out. And then you could go sit through some of the seminars or all of them and learn about something. And it does make for a nice weekend. Saturday is pretty jam-packed, I would say, because you're going to hit all the tables. You're going to listen to some of the seminars. And then Saturday night is the real ticker. Saturday night, after the event, there's the banquet. And you enjoy some great grub. Typically at the banquet is a keynote speaker. Last year's was a hoot and a lot of fun. And I'm not an Amigan, but these people that came had some great stories that I got to learn about why some of you love the Amiga so much. And we enjoyed this banquet eating seminar, or I should say keynote from their speaker that night. And then afterwards, booze starts to flow. Booze starts to flow. Did I say that? Plentiful. People bring their own, and it basically becomes a sit at your tables that you were eating at and chatting with other people, getting to meet new people you may have never met before, chatting with old friends that you now have seen many, many years, and sit around and talk into the wee hours of the morning. Last year, I don't think I went up into the bedroom until, I think I went 2 or 3 o'clock. I forget. It was pretty dang late for me. There's some other stragglers that come in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and if you're sharing the room with them, they give you a quick couple of boots and kicks. And one year, and it might have been that year there, I think I shared a room with this big guy here. We won't say his name. And Trevor, I won't say his last name, and they came in at 5 in the morning and woke me up, and they were biddying in my face and jumping on me and doing all sorts of crazy kid stuff, and these are old adults doing this stuff. So it brings the kid out in you. And so, yeah, you stay up wee hours in the morning on Saturday, but yet Sunday is a jam-packed day too, even though they close at 5, and they've got to pack up all the tables and people got to go their merry ways. Sunday, there's seminars that you sit through. The same tables are open to discuss your stuff. And it is a fun event. Again, you make it what you want. If you're going in to expect to have thousands of glistening, dancing ladies, dancing men, whatever tickles your fancy, and hundreds of tables, this event's not going to be for you. But if you're going there to get up-to-date information about any of the products they have at the tables, typically you always get some type of keynote or keywords from the big names like Trevor from Aeon, and then Matthew from Amiga Kit may have something there. It varies year to year. But needless to say, it is a fun event. I enjoy going. And like I said, I don't consider myself an Amigan, especially anymore. I started getting onto the bandwagon around 2009, and I had high hopes for the Next Gen Amiga. I was not interested, although I did buy and then resell later for basically what I paid, some older Amiga 68,000 computers. I can see why they were cool, but they just weren't for me. Weren't for me because my heart's in Atari 68,000 based computers. Not to say they were good or bad, but I bought them, played with them. Okay, this is cool, but not for me. I was there for Next Gen Amiga. So I had visions of Amiga OS 4 at the time and X1000, then on to the X5000 to be a replacement, a addition to my home computing that I could do many day-to-day things and kind of put some of my older Macs or older Linux computers to rest. I had hopes that the Amiga OS would grow into that arena, and decade and a half later, it's not. It's just not. There's still lots of infighting. There's still lots of squabbles. And in a video that I made a year or two ago, I basically said, I'm done. But I'm going to keep my Amiga X5000, use it for what it is. If something cool comes from it, cool. But I'm no longer on the cusp of wanting it to be, no, I should say expecting it to be a computer that's going to replace this Linux box behind me or my Mac that's over there, because I don't think it's going to happen. It takes lots of money, it takes lots of time, and lots of people, and you can't add into that mix legal squabbles and all this other stuff that downgrades what people are trying to achieve. So I finally just said, okay, it's not going to happen. That's fine. I mean, I spent a lot of money. I would go back and I'd say I'd probably spent around $10,000 total between all the Amiga and X5000 and all that stuff over time, which is not a small chunk of change. It's a good amount of money. But I don't foresee it being a computer I can do my business with. I can't do my videos with for my YouTube channel because there really is no easy to use. Even if it was iMovie-esque quality video, easy to use for Amiga, if there was, I'd probably use it. But there's not. There's that Blender thing. But Blender is not user-friendly. It is not a ready-to-go like you can find on a Mac or any other platform, even Linux. It's just not there. You can't do certain banking because of the internet connectivity of what the Next Gen Amiga can offer. I mean, at least let you get on the internet, and you can do emails, and you can go to basic web pages. But when it comes to video, live, YouTube, high resolution, to playing online streaming type of games, to banking, to business quality applications that you have to share with other businesses and you need to be able to read and write and do everything they do, it is not there. I don't foresee it ever being there, and it's disappointing, sad more that it's not, but I understand now it's just not going to happen. So I continue to have my X5000. I would say I turn it on once a month. That's a lot of money I spent for once a month, but I used it a lot. I owned that computer since 2016. It's not a spring chicken. It's almost 2024. You do the math. So I've had it for a long time. So early on, I really did use it a lot more, but I found it just become a niche little box over in a corner where I'm not going to sell it for peanuts just to get rid of it. I put it up actually a number of years ago at what I considered a fair price, and had a few people downgrade and offer me $500 less, and I just said, nah, I'm not looking to completely lose money on it, but I need to make at least a little of it back, and it wasn't. So I said, you know what, don't bother. Keep it. Maybe one day something magical will happen. that one magic thing, if they came out with a web browser that was even 3/4 up to snuff that could do some of the things I just mentioned, I would use it more. If it had a video editing suite that was generally like an iMovie, that simple, but it's powerful enough, I would probably use it to make videos for my YouTube channel. I would find uses for it. But right now, I would say for the Next Gen Amiga, if you want to watch videos in certain 720p, and if you have newer X5000 with better graphics card and the enhancer packs and all this stuff, I think you can watch it in 1080p now. But if you want to watch videos, if you want to listen to MP3 music, if you want to do basic internet radio, listen to a podcast, do email, basic web browsing, it's fine. And if you love the Amiga OS above and beyond everything else, you'll find it fun. Amiga OS is quite zippy, quite quick, and I enjoy Candy in the enhancer pack, even though a lot of people, probably the power users, don't like it. I like it. I have a nice, fun desktop environment that I can look at during the holidays and play my Christmas music. I just use it very sparingly. There's probably some other folks out there that could definitely use it much better than I could, but I'm not going to give it to you for $5 either. So I decided to keep it, and I think I said that 2 or 3 years ago. I forget when I made that video. And then in the last year or so, I've found a few. I do keep an eye on the forums, even though the forums are nasty for the Amiga. But there's some good stuff that comes from it. Mostly Amigans.net is probably the most sane place to be for Amiga stuff that you can share and not get pounced on by the wacko jobs. And yeah, you're out there. And if you do stuff on these other groups, you know you're a wacko job because you're just there to cause havoc. And instead of being there to make friends and have fun, you're just there to cause problems. But I do read them all, and I take out of it what I can. And if there's a new game that's come out, well, maybe I'll grab it and make a video on me playing it and put it up on my YouTube channel. So I try to keep in touch with the Amiga that way. Mostly I keep it in touch for this picture here. I'm going to be seeing everybody here other than Daniel in the middle this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that some great news will come eventually, but to tell you the truth, I've been kind of keeping an eye. It seems there's no big announcements. The Tabor or A1222, I think they've got a small quantity made now. People that put in orders maybe are getting some soon. But that's in itself is taking forever to come out. It's not readily available. You can't just go out and buy one. The price seems like it's being what was going to be. It's not what it was supposed to be. And it's like double what I think they said. I don't know what the official price is, but I'm seeing numbers that are double what they said it was going to be. And I would not personally spend that amount of money on it. But maybe if it's your only machine and you've never bought a Next Gen Amiga, it's for you. I've got an X5000. It's more powerful than a Tabor, and I'm going to call it a Tabor. But it is a nifty little ITX board. And sure, maybe they'll sell a few of those, but I don't foresee any big seller there unless, again, they put it out at the right price, and I don't see that happening. There's other mumbles about some, I don't know how to pronounce it, QEMU. I always used to see that as a way to use it to run some other application made for some other platform on your particular computer, which can be a nifty thing to do. And it seems like some of the discussions of Amiga 38 are that they're going to make some video driver capability that will work under QEMU. QEMU. Ooh. And make for an Amiga OS 4 experience outside of what we have hardware-wise, which is fine and dandy, but I didn't join the Amiga Next Gen to use my Windows PC, Linux box, to run Amiga OS. Amiga OS is cool, but it doesn't have the business quality applications and plethora of stuff out there that the modern day world uses that would entice me to want to use Amiga OS and some other thing. I bought it because of the unique platform, and if there was a hardware that run it, and it runs at fairly decently speed, and there's some cool applications for it, I would have preferred it go that direction. It doesn't seem to be doing that. Again, and I talked about it earlier, because there continues to be legal squabbles, ownerships, who owns what. There's still lots of stuff, and like I said, I no longer worry about that. I own an X5000. Maybe one day I will, down the road, for the heck of it, sell it. Today I continue to use it. And if something wonderful comes to make it more usable in my home, great. I'll continue using it and use it more. If nothing ever comes from it, well, I still have these people. I have lots of Amiga friends that I'm going to see this weekend, and I'll continue to see year after year, hopefully. Maybe periodically a year that I don't go. But I'm going to go there to have fun, to drink, to be merry, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Yeah, lots of rambling on, but this is pre-Amiwest, so I'm excited. I am excited for any announcements. I would have figured at Amiga 38, if we were to, something big is coming out, we would have heard that there, and then Amiwest would carry it over. So I don't expect anything big, but I'm going to go there and have a good time either way. And if you're watching this video and it's not Saturday yet, and you're going to be at Amiwest, come by and say hello. You'll see me walking around, and I'll be with all my buddies, chatting, drinking, and being merry. So thank you for watching the video. Have a Amiga weekend, and thanks for watching the video. Bye.